Welcome back to another episode of Sisters Who Watch. Before we get into the podcast, wanted to address the LA wildfire situation since this is our first episode since they broke out. We are an entertainment review podcast, and I'm based in LA, so the wildfires are definitely affecting us personally and the community of storytellers we love. Wanted to encourage everyone to pray and support the city however they can, whether that's checking in with any Angelinos or donating to organizations on the ground like the Red Cross for 211 LA. I'm so blessed to be safe and hope our city gets through this very soon. Thanks for the support, everyone. Let's get into our episode.
Sisters Who Watch. Sisters Who Watch. Sisters Who Watch.
Best movies.
Hey y'all, hey, welcome to Sisters Who Watch.
I'm Shelby.
And I'm Laura, and we're sisters who watch everything: TV, movies, sports, concerts, and even commercial and independent movies.
Yes.
We love to watch. I love talking about it even more. Today we're watching
the best
movies
of 2024.
Woo!
That's right. Our year-end movie recommendations.
Yes, that's right. And before we get into our list, PSA, please make sure you're giving Sisters Who Watch 5 stars wherever you listen. 5 stars. Rate us 5 stars, please. Rate, download, subscribe. Yes, and you can auto-download our episodes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Follow us on our social media platforms at Sisters Who Watch. And you can also buy our merch on our website, sisterswhowatch.com. Thank you.
Yes, appreciate y'all. For a bit of background, we've done best movies of lists in the past. We did them for 2022 and 2023 and are now back for our best movies of 2024. So for our past recommendations, check out those episodes. We are not doing a worst content episode this year, but instead giving a few dishonorable mentions of movies that just were not it for us.
Yeah, let's dive in. Shelby, give me your dishonorable mentions.
Instead of just giving the worst movies of the year, like Joker 2, I feel like we've talked about that enough. No more space for it. I decided to give movies that I didn't love, or I was hoping for more, or have just a lot of drama. So the first one is Civil War, the A24 movie starring Kirsten Dunst that came out in the beginning of 2024. Have you heard of that?
I have heard of it. Our brother, that's on his best movies list.
I know. It's about a hypothetical world where modern day America would go into a civil war. So one, that's a bit triggering for me.
I know. I'm like, too real.
Might not be too hypothetical at the moment. And it also was very hyped. Someone like our brother loved it. So many people were like, oh my gosh, it's one of the best movies. It's so good. Kirsten Dunst, Jesse Plemons, da-da-da. And I saw it and I was like, it's fine. It's definitely not the worst movie I saw this year. But given the expectations of what people were saying, I had higher hopes. And it was too on the nose. It was a little too intense given the political landscape at the moment. I don't think we need to be hypothesizing of whether or not we'll have another civil war. Let's make other stuff. And also Kaylee Spaney's character, who was the young photographer that was kind of being mentored by Kirsten Dunst, she just kept making awful decisions. Every decision she made, to jump into someone else's car, led them to get kidnapped by Jesse Plemons' character, and then multiple people died because she made it. She decided to try and get a good shot that was in a dangerous moment, and Kirsten Dunst jumps in front of her, and spoiler alert, gets killed, because she was saving her. It was just annoying. You had this young girl make such dumb decisions that led to other people's demise. So it was just tough to watch and see her live at the end.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Not my favorite, but it's currently streaming on Max, and that's where I saw it.
Got it.
My other dishonorable mention is It Ends With Us. Yikes! Very dramatic, polarizing movie at the moment. If you've been living under a rock, maybe you haven't heard, but this is the movie starring Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. That was directed by Justin as well. It came out this past summer by Sony, and it crushed the box office. It's based on Colleen Hoover's very popular romantic drama book about domestic violence. And I typically like a romantic drama, and I didn't see this right away because I had heard polarizing things. But with all this drama, Blake Lively's bombshell lawsuit and then Justin Baldoni's countersuit. I was like, I have to watch this movie. So on a plane from New York to LA, I watched it. And again, not the worst movie of the year. But given all of the drama, I was like, there's this much drama about this movie over this. Like, it's not the best thing since sliced bread. So I was just really shocked that so much drama is coming from it. The drama is like so kind of negative and toxic. It's overshadowing the film and I guess the message Colleen Hoover is trying to make. So I feel bad for her. Like, big moment. You're like books being made into a movie and it's being overshadowed by the drama between Justin and Blake. It just shows, sadly, like the toxicity of the inner workings of Hollywood, how sets can be very male dominated and toxic and uncomfortable for women based on like what Blake Lively said. And then it also shows like the PR machine, how there can be smear campaigns and how someone like Blake, who's married to Ryan Reynolds, can have so much power. And like everything about it is kind of icky. So I had to mention it as a dishonorable movie. Yikes.
Yeah, everything about it is a mess. I have yet to see it. It's now on Netflix, so maybe I'll have to. But yeah, what a disaster for everyone involved.
Yeah, stay away.
So now on to my worst movies of 2024. Yeah, I didn't include Joker Fallait à Deux because we already know it's bad. So first I have Madam Web. And yeah, I saw it because we're going to talk about on the podcast, and we did get to hear about some of the background and some nuggets about the movie. I will say everyone was like, this is the worst ever. I didn't think it was the worst Marvel movie I've ever seen. No, I thought it was fine. I just think like I only go and see really good movies, right? So Madam Web, it wasn't horrible, but no, it was a bit of a mess. I talked about how it was confusing. I thought the graphics were kind of strange. Like Dakota Johnson, I don't see her as a superhero. I'm so sorry.
Yikes, she's not. She doesn't give it.
No, she doesn't give superhero. So it wasn't my favorite. But I thought the cast, like I liked the girls, the 4 young girls in it. I mean, Sydney Sweeney was in it. LOL. But yeah, that movie was weird.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair choice. It's a movie that bombed at the box office. I actually got to go to the premiere with her cousin Mitch.
Yes.
And so that was really cool to see celebrities, was standing near Garcelle Beauvais from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. The movie definitely didn't do the IP justice. The fact that it's like a Spider-Man adjacent story, I felt like it should have been really well done. And it just underutilized what it was given. You have all these young stars, right? Sydney's like you had all the pieces, right, for a big movie, and it just didn't do any of them justice.
And then the next one I have here is Furiosa.
Good one. I mean,
again, it wasn't again, it wasn't bad. It just right. We reviewed this on the podcast, and we both thought it was okay. We had a lot of high expectations because the first Mad Max was so fantastic. Well, the first that came like out 10 years ago, like the first
Mad Max Fury Road that we saw in the 2000s.
The thing is, I don't even know how to explain it because I did not know what this movie was about. Like, it was very confusing. Like, I actually had a really hard time following. It basically, Furiosa is Charlize Theron's character's origin story, played by Anya Taylor-Joy. And it was hard to follow. I didn't understand. I thought Chris Hemsworth he was underutilized. He wasn't promoted. Yeah, I didn't like it. I thought it was confusing. So
I'm aligned. And it premiered at the Cannes Film Festival when I was there. And everyone was like, yeah, disappointed. Shocked it's here. So
yeah, it was disappointing. My expectations were very high. So that's why it's a dishonorable mention. Okay, what were movies that are honorable mentions for you that just missed the top 5?
As a girly, I tend to like movies that are female forward, a bit lighter. So my 2 movies that I actually think were good movies, but aren't as diverse, aren't as female forward, are very white and male, they're in my honorable mentions. The first one is Conclave. We recently saw this movie as a family during the holidays. It's currently streaming on Peacock. It's made by Focus Features, and it stars Ralph Fiennes and Stanley Tucci and John Lithgow as like cardinals in the Catholic Church all vying to become the new pope. It's all about electing a new pope and like the inner workings. I was pleasantly surprised. I'd heard good things. Like my line sister Lonnie was like, "Oh, it was one of my favorite films of the year," and it was getting a lot of awards buzz. But for a movie about like the popes to be as thrilling and like entertaining as that, I was shocked. Like it actually moves really well. It was well paced. There were twists and turns. I was genuinely curious. It had been a long day and I did not fall asleep while watching it. That's like a big one. So I was pleasantly surprised. I liked the twist at the end. I liked how they were trying to give a more diverse spin on what you can in like a Pope movie. The score was also great. I love the music. It's very like enthralling.
It's a good pick.
And my second one is Dune Part 2, a movie that you wouldn't think I would like. I thought the first one was okay, but the second one, there was a bit more Zendaya. You also had like Florence Pugh and some other like minor characters, but honestly, it was just visually stunning. It's a movie that I saw in the spring of 2024 that I was like, oh yeah, that's solid. But then once more movies came out and you realized it was like, oh, there are a lot of great movies this year. That movie like kept coming up. I was like, oh yeah, that was like a solid movie and one of the best ones at the beginning of the year. It stars, of course, everyone's favorite upcoming male star, Timothy Chalamet,
Timmy.
as something Atreides, Paul Atreides, right? That's his character's name. And it's directed by Denis Villeneuve. It's based on like a very popular sci-fi book. So friends of mine who are into sci-fi like love it. It was released by Warner Brothers and it was the sequel to the first Dune that came out a few years ago. The performances were good. They had Timothée looking crazy, trying to be like a savior. They had like the dynamics with like villains in Austin Butler. They had a young cast, which we love, like seeing Zendaya and Austin and Timothée and Florence all in the same movie. Anya Taylor-Joy even made like a cameo. I was like, this is really cool. Seeing all the young actors working together. I feel like you rarely see that in these Hollywood movies anymore. And I just thought Denis did a beautiful job with like the shots. Like sci-fi isn't for me, but this was like a more dramatic, thrilling sci-fi movie that was just beautiful. Like seeing that on the big screen. I saw it on like $5 Tuesday at AMC's and accidentally booked IMAX. And I was like, oh, I didn't mean to do this, but it looks great. So yeah, Dune Part 2 did not make my actual list, but really well done.
Those are good, solid picks that, were very buzzy this year. So
What
for
about
my
your
honorable
honorable
mentions,
mentions?
yes, my first one is Inside Out 2.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Animated.
It was a movie that I did enjoy, that it was unexpected. I mean, it was a movie that everyone was talking
One of
about.
the biggest
I
movies
rem
of the year.
Yes,
Box office.
yeah. And people our age were like, "Oh my gosh, you have to go see it. Like it's great. It's really really topical for like people in their 20s, people in their
Mhm.
30s, millennials." So I was like, "Okay, I got to go see it." So I saw it and I was shook. I was like, "This is a kids movie?" Like it felt like it was meant for people our age. So I
Literally.
was shocked at how like adult it was and how meaningful it was for me. And I thought I related to it a lot this year. I like how Inside Out matured with, Riley. And basically it's for context. It's an animated movie. It's about like the emotions of, a young teenage girl and what's like to like grow up in puberty, dealing with anxiety, stuff like that. And yeah, like one of the new characters this movie was anxiety. I remember hearing a stat like the most anxiety medication goes to the US, even though like all countries, kind of experience anxiety the same.
Girl.
Like 90%, I don't know, it's the majority of, anxiety medication goes to America, which I just thought was so interesting.
Mhm.
So I think it's like a huge topic right now that so many people are dealing with. So I thought that was really smart. And I think the way to see anxiety depicted on screen felt so authentic and real. And I think a lot of people related to that. So I was impressed. I was impressed by the Disney writing. I thought it was really good.
It's a goodie. Pixar really did their thing. I did not think it was as good as the first Inside Out, and this similarly felt like a bit overhyped. But when I did enjoy it, like I thought it was a solid kids movie. We reviewed it with Nikki, who we met traveling in Europe, and who's a big Disney girly. So yeah, I recommend listening to our episode if you want to learn more about our thoughts.
Yes. And then my second honorable mention is A Complete Unknown featuring
Oh,
Timothy Chalamet.
playing Bob
um
Dylan.
Yes, playing Bob Dylan. So yeah, it's a biopic about Bob Dylan's life, his beginning, and how he rose to fame as a folk singer. Coming into this movie, I was not expecting to really, be blown away because I'm like, Timothy Chalamet. Like, I think Timothy Chalamet is fine. Like, I acknowledge
He's
that
a good actor, Laura.
no, I acknowledge that he's a good actor, but it feels like everyone's obsessed with him and I am not. So that's how I feel. So I was like, like, I don't know. So I was not expecting to like really love this movie, but
Mhm.
I was surprised. I thought it was well done. I thought it was probably going to be boring, but I was surprised that it was engaging and it didn't, drag, and that you
Mhm.
didn't really know how it was going to end. You're like, wait, what's happening? I thought they had good tension in the film, and yeah, Timothy Chalamet was really good. All online, it's like Timothy Chalamet spent 5 years perfecting his Bob Dylan, and it shows. It definitely shows. I thought Timmy T. Chalamet did a good job.
Yeah, that's another movie we saw as a family over the holidays. And I agree. He did great transforming into Bob Dylan. I hadn't really known much about Bob or his songs, but Timmy sang and he played instruments and he really captured the character. He did a good job. On to our main lists for best movies of 2024. One disclaimer before we start. There were so many movies that were like recently released and haven't been released technically yet wide, but are 2024 movies. So we have not seen everything. So it could be like what happened last year with us. We saw American Fiction and like Poor Things after our list came out once we were getting prepared for the Oscars. So there might be some movies that we like miss that eventually will be like, oh my gosh, we loved. But as of right now, these are our best movies of 2024. My number 5 is We Live in Time. The
Oh,
Florence Pugh, Andrew Garfield, A24 romantic drama that came out last fall. They don't really make romantic dramas anymore. So it was kind of shocking to see this in a theater. And again, this was a movie that was kind of trending because of Andrew Garfield's press
I swear.
tour, his chicken shop date with Amelia, as well as, the fact that Florence Pugh, was in it. She's everyone's favorite, girly
Yeah.
these days. And I had friends mention to me, oh, you have to see it because they know I like romance. So whenever I get recommendations like that from friends, it's like, oh, yeah, I gotta see this movie. It's a tearjerker, so it's not a rom com. It's definitely a rom dram, but it had some comedic elements. Like I think Florence and Andrew did a good job. Given they had Florence playing like a chef in her 30s and a mom, they could have maybe casted it differently, but she does great in everything, so I thought she did a good job. And I think Andrew Garfield's really having a moment. Like, what a thirst trap. At the Golden Globes, like the way he took off his glasses, like Andrew's just looking great. I've been a fan, but he really is having a moment as a heartthrob. Put him in more romances, people. So yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. I think part of it is like where there was a lack of romance movies. So to have one theatrically with like exciting stars, I heard someone say it's like a movie they would make in the 90s. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's not really a movie they make these days. So it was exciting to see it. And I enjoyed it. Yes, I was crying by the end. And it wasn't a perfect movie by any means, right? Listen to a review that we did on it for the full analysis. But I left the theater satisfied.
Like you, the amount of people who were telling me to watch this movie was wild. It felt like every young woman in my life was seeing We Live in Time. So I saw it with two of my friends, and yeah, it wasn't my favorite, but I definitely did think it was like an enjoyable watch. Yeah, and it did what it needed to do. It was a
Mhm.
sad rom dram that was cute. It sounded like you liked Andrew Garfield's beard at the Golden Globes. I thought he looked kind of disheveled, I must say.
No, I thought he looked great.
Interesting. Yeah, let us know what you think. Look it up and let us know if you liked Andrew Garfield's look. I don't know, he looked kind of scruffy. I did not love it.
Have you seen the
Anyways,
clip of him taking off his glasses?
no.
I
I
think
guess
that's
I
what
have
you
to
need
look
to
at that.
watch. Yeah,
Okay, but I saw him present and he just looked like a bit of a mess.
wow.
Yeah.
Hot take, Laura. Whew.
Yeah, I don't know. He looks kind of old. Okay. My number 5 is Conclave. Shall we mention this? Yeah, it was a surprising movie. Another movie that everyone was like, "Oh, you got to watch this." Like it had been recommended to me by multiple people. Like, "Oh, this movie was so good." And I was pleasantly surprised. I thought it was really well done. Like, I think it's a different kind of movie, right? It's a bit slower, right? It's just popes, it's cardinals talking to each other. So you have to kind of manage your expectations. But yeah, it's basically a bunch of cardinals deciding who's going to be the next pope after the pope dies.
Mm-hmm.
So that's literally the whole movie. It's like negotiating and politicking and stuff, secrets being revealed. Like there were lots of twists and turns, and I was pleasantly surprised with the movie. I thought it was well done. You didn't know what was going to happen.
No,
Lots of
kept you on
lots
the
of
edge of
plot
your seat.
twists. Yes, so I thought it was good.
It's like a solid movie that I think will probably do well with award season. It only won one Golden Globe for screenplay, but I think with other award shows, you could see it getting a lot more. My number 4, a
Whoa!
movie that we saw as a family, but I had seen before because I got to go to the premiere in LA. It's the 688.
Ooh,
Yes.
Kerry
This is
Washington.
a historical drama on Netflix that was made by Tyler Perry. Honestly, I think one of the best movies he's made. It
Oh,
stars
it's not the best.
right, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
One of Tyler's best movies. It stars one of our faves, Kerry Washington. It's set in the 40s and follows young Black women enlisting in the army, wanting to fight for the country, and like the trials and tribulations they go through, but how the 688 Battalion is eventually sent to Europe to fix this issue with mail. And everyone's like, oh, it's kind of stupid. They won't be able to do it. It's not an important thing. But actually, like, getting the mail sent to families and to soldiers was so important to build morale. And a project that no one else in the army, mainly white soldiers, were not able to accomplish, they did in like 6 weeks, something crazy. They
Yeah,
were
less than
able,
2 months.
yeah, less than 2 months, solve the mail issue of like thousands and thousands and thousands of mail that had been redirected and incorrectly sent. Just so powerful and inspirational. Reminds me of like Hidden Figures, starring Taraji, that came out a few years ago. Basically like Hidden Figures, but like set in the war time and about like getting mail to troops. That's basically the difference. But it was really well done. It was cool to go to the premiere. And after seeing it, I literally told our family, we have to watch it over the holidays when our grandfather and uncle are in town because they're really going to like it. And the whole family felt very moved by it. Another reminder, Black people have been through so much, and I'm so inspired by our history and what we've overcome.
Yeah, it's the perfect family movie, honestly. Like,
Mm-hmm.
go watch that with the fam on Netflix.
Yes.
Yes, good pick. Okay,
Thanks.
my number 4. Okay, I literally, in anticipation, after watching the Golden Globes, in anticipation for today, I just watched this movie this morning. It's Amelia Perez. Because it won like a bunch of Golden Globes. And I was like, I guess I need to see this movie. And I knew we were recording this episode today, so I was like, I have to watch this.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I enjoyed it. I was pleasantly surprised. I see why Zoe Saldana like won, because yeah, she was a star. Like she killed that role. She did so much in that movie.
She can be supporting. It's kind of category fraud. They should make her lead actress. But,
Yeah.
I
She
think a bit of politics, the fact that Carla Sofia Garcon is like the titular character, right? It is called Amelia Perez, but
right.
Zoe is by far in the most scenes and carries the movie along.
Exactly. Basically, the plot of this movie, like a drug cartel leader, enlists the help of Zoe Saldana's character, because they want to transition from being a man to a woman. That's the plot of the movie. It is wild. Like every part of that movie, I was like, what is going on? And it's also a musical. I remember you listen to our Cannes 2024 episode. Shelby talks about Amelia Perez,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, and I remember you told me about it. I was like, what? Like, this movie sounds bizarre. And it is. I feel like Joker Faliade was trying to be Amelia Perez.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought Amelia Perez was a lot more successful in
Yeah,
incorporating the musical elements, and it was less like awkward and jarring. It was a bit more seamless transitioning to and from the musical elements.
completely
Um, and I thought the dance scenes were really cool. Like the opening scene was Zoe Saldana like typing on her laptop and like dancing in the
agree.
streets of Mexico City. I just thought were really interesting. Selena Gomez, good for her. Right? Yeah, she's a serious actor.
Her career is growing.
Yes. So I recommend it. It's on Netflix. It's pretty wild, but I thought it was
And it's
entertaining and
experience.
suspenseful. Yes, it is. It is in mostly Spanish.
Still, my number 3 is actually Amelia Perez.
Whoa.
Joining on the combo here. I really liked it because I thought it was very unique and
Yes.
creative. Like there
Very.
are ads in LA that are like, there are no movie like Amelia Perez. And it's true. I don't think there's ever been a movie like it. Like it's very surprising and bold. I think the performances were very strong, which is why I'm glad, there's Oscar buzz for all of them. Like even Selena, like I think it's probably the best acting I've seen her do.
Yes. We talked about it. Her acting in Only Murders, I'm sorry, is not the best. So I was pleasantly surprised seeing her in this movie.
Yeah, I was really impressed. And right, she was speaking in Spanish, which is not something, right, I feel like I've seen her do before.
No.
I also thought it was like thrilling. Like it felt like a thriller,
Oh,
right? It was like a thriller with musical elements, and it was also very topical and inclusive. I like how you wouldn't think, right, a gang cartel leader would want to transition into a woman. Like
right.
you would never think that. And then to still want to be a part of your family, and then to like use your influence to switch from doing bad things to now start like a nonprofit. Like it just,
Insane.
the movie is like so outlandish and far-fetched, but they kind of land the plane.
They do.
I've been hearing about this movie for months, so I finally saw it, and I'm glad I did because it's a strong like Oscar contender, which is interesting because I don't know how many people have seen it. It's definitely a bit of like a different movie, to say the least.
Yeah,
But
it's a
I
bit
think,
niche.
yeah, it's a bit niche. The music might throw people off, right? It's a bit outlandish, but I think it's well done.
Yeah, it was very surprising. And like you said, so what a diverse, unique story, right? A movie set in Mexico, right, with all these Latin stars, Spanish speaking stars, and to be
That's
about with a transgender woman at the center of it. I just thought that was really cool. Like you don't like you stories like this don't exist in movies, right? So I just thought that
mhm.
was really powerful. My number 3 is uh
I can't remember. You
Wicked.
can say that, Laura. Come on, bring it.
I know. I was like, let me try to do my best Alphaba, my Cynthia
I
Erivo. That
can't.
trend of people doing that final note is so funny.
I,
Um
I'm not even gonna try.
that's my best. That's my best. I'm not a soprano, so I not my forte. But yes, I really enjoyed Wicked. I think that some people were like, "This is the best movie I've ever seen." So I don't think that. That's why it's number 3 and not number 1. But I did enjoy it. It was so well directed and it was so whimsical and fantastical. Like the set design was 10 out of 10. So I think I was really just impressed by it, by the magnitude of the film. And I thought Cynthia Erivo was really fantastic. I loved her Alphaba. Check out our review. I didn't love Ariana Grande's Glinda. I thought she was a little bit cringy at times, a little bit overacting. But I thought the singing was great. Jonathan Bailey, what a star. Bowen Yang, so funny. Yeah, I really enjoyed Wicked.
So Wicked's my number 2. So just moving
Whoa.
along. I want to be popular. Popular. That's my singing. Okay. So on to my thoughts on Wicked. It's my number 2 movie of 2024. It was one of my most anticipated titles of the year.
It's
And
both
I
of
thought
us.
it delivered. I thought the acting was great. I thought the music was great. I thought the care that they took with the musical, truly doing the act structure and being authentic to it, was
Yes.
really smart instead of trying to rush it and cram it all into one movie. The fact that it's 2 parts, I actually think was really well done. I
Yes.
thought Jonathan Bailey had a breakout role. Like I love Bridgerton, so love him in that. But this really felt like, oh yeah, he's catapulting into star status for sure. The set design, the production quality, the costumes, the fact
Unbelievable.
that Universal made a bet on this movie and we're like, yeah, we're gonna spend a lot of money to just plant fields of tulips and actually make Oz. Like not many studios would actually let the director and the team go all in like that. So the fact that they did, I think, is so impressive and a risk that is well worth it because it came out so well. Like, I'm very impressed by that film, and I cannot wait for part two in 2025.
Hey, vocals. Yes,
Crying.
I totally agree. They really did their thing with the set design and everything. They really did.
Okay, Laura, you're number two.
Oh, right. My number two. So my number two is The 688 by Tyler Perry. Kerry Washington. Incredible, amazing. Yeah, for all the reasons Shelby said, I thought it was funny. I think it had a lot of comedic moments as well. I thought it was so inspiring. Kerry Washington, 10 out of 10. She wasn't nominated for a Globe,
No,
right?
I don't know if enough people have seen this movie or if Netflix is campaigning for it. What people don't realize is like to get nominated for awards, your studio has to campaign for you, put money behind it, like it's a whole machine. And Netflix has Amelia Perez. So that's what they're focused on. I think they know with that movie, they have a shot to possibly win a lot of awards. So they're putting all their eggs in that basket.
Yeah, I get that. I think Amelia Perez is more like, unique, kooky
Mm-hmm.
Oscar movie, more likely to, be a critical success.
Mm-hmm.
But Kerry Washington was so
So
fantastic.
good. Ugh, I
Like
know.
she deserves a nomination. Like that was might be the best, probably the best movie I've seen her in.
Mm-hmm.
She was so good. The whole cast was amazing. And yeah, like our whole family loved it. Like we were all talking about how amazing it was. It was so inspiring, but it wasn't cheesy. I thought it was really well balanced. And plus, like you said, Hidden Figures. I'd never heard of this. The 688. I'd never heard of these people, you know, and these are American heroes. And right, when we're people who should know about it, right? Like
I
young black
know.
women, and we have never heard of this,
It's great.
right? So the fact that Tyler Perry decided to make a movie about it is really, good on him. Good on you, Tyler.
Oh, and honestly, props to Netflix for making it.
And people are talking about it. Like when I saw some friends, or like people love to ask both of us, "Oh, what are you watching? What have you
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed recently?" And I was like, "The 688 was fantastic." And other people were like, "Yes, I've heard that too. I just saw it and I really loved it." So go see that. Like that's a movie everyone should be watching. It's on
Literally.
Netflix. Yes. Okay. I think I have a feeling, Shelby, what your number one movie
I
is.
know. Is it the same?
I I
Should
think it
we do
is.
it again?
One, two, three. Challenger.
Challengers. I can't. It's so funny. We keep having like different honorable or dishonorable mentions, but for the most part, we watched and like the same movies. So yeah,
Yes.
Challengers. Great. Zendaya 8. The director, Luca Guadagnino 8. 4 plus
Yes.
4. Everyone was just eating all movie long. I thought Josh O'Connor and Mike Feist were great.
Our rat boyfriends.
Our rat
The
boyfriend,
original rat
the
boyfriends.
original rat boys, just really inspiring to all rodent men everywhere. And it won, for best score at the Golden Globes. And so good. Like I literally was listening to it afterwards and I was just like, yeah, it's like so pump up. Like maybe it needs to be on my workout playlist. Like something.
Yes.
And this is a movie that, stars our favorite Zendaya. It's directed by Luca Guadagnino, who's done movies like Call Me by Your Name. It's a genre blender for sure. Like there's less romance than you'd think. It's more about like tension.
Yes.
And it's more about like tennis, right? So maybe it's more like a sports thriller, but I loved it.
Yeah.
I thought it was so well done. I thought the acting was amazing. Zendaya, I think, was one of her best roles I've seen her in.
For
And
sure.
kind of off type, right? She was like kind of the villain, and she normally doesn't play the
He
villain.
was the villain.
So I thought that was fun. I also think seeing tennis on screen for us was cool because we grew up playing tennis. And the fact that one of the challenger matches and competitions is set in New Rochelle, New York. Shout out Westchester County. Just hits the heart, right? That's home.
Down the road from where we grew up. Yeah.
So that was like a fun connection. Yeah, everything about it I enjoyed. It was again my most anticipated title of 2024. And it's my best movie of the year. It did what it needed to do. It delivered.
It's hit an ace, if you will. Yes. It was yeah, Challengers really blew me away. So the movie, it's literally just Zendaya balancing these two men, juggling these two men
Yeah.
who she plays tennis with.
Like
Like I don't even know how else to describe the movie. And the ending is a bit ambiguous. It's like what? Like, So I think it's still the movie has you on the edge of your seat the entire time. Lots of twists and turns. So highly recommend. Everyone's got to see Challenger.
Yes. Currently streaming on Prime Video. I may rewatch soon because, sometimes you just want a bit more Zendaya in your life.
Always, always. Yes. Great list. Do you think, Shelby, 2024 was a good year for movies?
It's interesting because the box office would say no. And I think coming
Mm,
in, I had really high expectations.
yes.
But it was a bit softer year in movies than I had anticipated. Shockingly, right? The strikes, I think, had a lot of impact on the year with some bigger movies being pushed out. But you also had some things really do well, right? Like Inside Out 2, Deadpool and Wolverine, they crushed at the box office. You had some surprises like that came out of festivals, like Amelia Perez and Honora. You had movies that people weren't really thinking about, like 6888, release on streaming and really resonate. I think it was a so-so year. It had some downs and it had some ups. Like Furiosa bombed, like that was a movie people were depending on, that didn't do well. So it had a mix.
Yeah, I think I remember you were telling me in regards to a complete unknown, the Timothy Chalamet Bob Dylan movie, how that was rushed
Mm-hmm.
because people are saying that this is like a weaker Oscar year, so
Mm-hmm.
they wanted, to get this out sooner rather than later. So, I mean, looking back at the movies, yeah, it was harder to come up with,
Mm-hmm. It was
movies
a
I really
struggle.
loved,
Yeah.
right? So I had to really think about it. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think yeah, it was a okay year for movies,
Mm-hmm.
but out of this year came some movies I did really love.
Yeah.
So
I think similar to the TV shows that we reviewed in our lists, like it was technically maybe a softer year, particularly post strike, and less box office hits, but there still were some gems.
exactly. Yes. Well, if you enjoyed this episode of Sisters Who Watch and our list, let us know what you thought about our list. Yeah, go comment on our Instagram. You can comment on Spotify on our episode 2. And you can give us 5 stars. 5 stars wherever you listen. Let us know your favorite movie of 2024. And please make sure you're following us on all our social media platforms at Sisters Who Watch.
Yes, we really appreciate y'all's support. Like Laura said, we want to hear from you. You can do that by commenting, emailing, leaving us a review, you name it. We're here and we want to know what y'all think. Also, we've reviewed a lot of these movies in full episodes, so check out our episodes on Challengers, Wicked, We Live in Time.
Sisters Who
They're there.
Watch.
We really appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for
Sisters
tuning
Who
in.
Watch. Thanks for listening. Stay watching.
Stay
Stay
watching.
watching.